Hello and welcome to TCG Buzz. And guys, there's this feeling of elation you get when you finally get to talk about a project that you've been so incredibly excited for months upon months, and it's finally time that you get to share it, and we are getting to do that today. Guys, ride on
That's me.
Saga.
That's me.
Did you guys know we did one of the coolest things in our entire careers recently?
I
Did
am
we?
aware. I am so aware that doing this project was literally a bucket list item of mine, and the fact that it is now out crosses off one of the last two items on my bucket list. Once this is out and then Caster Chronicles is out, I've completed everything I've ever wanted to do in my life.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about the greatest game show in the galaxy?
You know it. We are talking about Junk World, a game that the three of us made together, and a game that is now the biggest crossover in indie TCGs, indie card games, indie tabletop gaming. It is
I'm actually
so cool.
Jacob, you're wrong, actually. I got to cut in here and tell you it's wrong. I did the research. This is the biggest crossover, not in indie tabletop gaming, in tabletop gaming, full stop, period. No other game in our entire industry has brought together this many different names, faces, companies, and creators before. We are the Smash Brothers of tabletop gaming, and no one can take that title from us.
Yeah, and we're going to go over all of the games that we are adding to Junk World as crossovers. A lot of them you guys will have heard of. Some of them we've even had on as guests before on this podcast. But first, we're going to start out by just explaining what the heck a Junk World is.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that?
So, for reference, you're three people here. I am Jacob, the owner of TCG Buzz, kind of, sort of. I am also a game developer and the lead designer and creator of Junk World.
I am Saga, a streamer and video content creator, as well as one of the lead artists for Speedrobo Games, and I am the art director of Junk World.
And my name is Rydon, Dr. Speedrobo Vasse. I have worn countless hats in my decade plus long career as a professional in the tabletop games industry. But the relevant position I hold for Junk World is that I am the CEO of Speedrobo Games, the publishing company for the Junk World game.
So, Junk World, we need to thank its real creator, Insomnia.
What?
True, though.
Junk World was one of those ideas. I have diagnosed insomnia, and I was laying in bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, knowing I couldn't sleep, eyes closed, desperately trying to fight to sleep. Then a thought just popped into my brain, which was, wonder what it would be like if there was a game out there where your game board was two hands. And here we are, like 2, 3 years later.
hmm and not two hands like the Shadowverse Evolve game where you have two hands of cards that you're holding, one for your actual hand and one for all the tokens. No, like two human hands, and that's the entire game board. And it's like, what can you hold in your hands?
Yep. So this is a game where your lovable hosts named Bolt and Volt. We'll talk about their design in a bit. They abduct people from across the tabletop gaming universe and plop them right down for a game show fight to the death on a planet made out of literal garbage. And you playing one of these contestants on the show must scrounge through the piles of garbage to find anything you can to duct tape together as makeshift weapons to beat each other up with. That's the game.
Yeah, you know the great garbage patch in the ocean? Okay, what if that was an entire planet? That's what the situation is.
I think it's a really fun game. We've taken it to several conventions. It's been demoed to a lot of people, and it's nice, approachable, and people instantly get the vibe of it, that it's wacky, it's silly. People laugh when you get to take a regular old stick and attach a bunch of spikes to it, and then also attach some RGB lighting to it, and stickers, and a nuclear bomb,
And another gun.
and another gun. And it's been really wonderful seeing people enjoy this game that we've made. The base set has already shipped out to our successful Kickstarter backers, and it is on sale. But we are here as well announcing the big first expansion for the game called the New Challengers, which is filled to the brim with new contestants you can play as who all alter the game's rules to do things representative of the games they come from. It is one of the coolest, nerdiest things we've ever gotten to work on, and I'm so excited to gush about all of it.
Yeah, it's been genuinely great because over the, many, many, many years that I've been working in this biz, and Jacob as well, like between our like 20 years of industry experience combined, we've made tons of friends out in the game development space. And we called in a favor with every single one of them to make this the coolest single product ever. And I'm over the moon, and I can't wait to go over the list. But first, I want to talk about something because we were just talking about the story, the lore, the backstory concept for Junk World, and that wasn't always the case. That wasn't always like the idea. And I talk about this in my development series, exploring card game design. But you can start from multiple different points of view when making your game. And Jacob started from a mechanical point of view. He came up with the mechanics and then thought, well, what story, what setting is going to work with these mechanics? And sometimes it's the other way around, where you think of a setting you want to have a game in, and then you figure out what mechanics you want to go from there. And we talked about how this is a crossover game with a whole bunch of people in the industry. Well, that is actually very much not how this started. We started off by creating a bunch of original characters, and you can still see those original characters in the game, as there's a bunch of Junk World original characters in the base set, and it's only this new Challengers expansion that really brings in characters from outside of the Speedrobo games ecosystem. And when we were when I remember this, when we came up with the theme and we're thinking about it, it was several weeks later after Jacob told me about the theme, and I said that sounds great. I was actually in the shower. See, Jacob gets all of his ideas when he can't sleep. I get all of my ideas in the shower. I was in the shower and I was thinking about it, and I was like, unironically, this is how it started. I was like, what would make development a little easier if we could reuse some artwork and reuse some characters? And I realized that the setting of this being an intergalactic game show worked so well because all of my characters in Speedrobo games actually like live on different planets within the same galaxy. I've made that intentionally. And I said, well, why don't we just have the the abductions happen on some of the worlds from my other games? And when I first pitched this to Jacob, I was a little nervous about it.
You
I was
were very nervous about that.
Yes.
Because you led into it with like, "Hey, I have this idea. You might not like it.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to take over your project. I'm not trying to or like anything like that. I just want to hear your thoughts.
Yep.
What if we used all my characters?" And what was my
Yes.
response?
Yes. Your response was absolutely fuck yes, we're doing this. You didn't even blink. You were like, that's exactly what I want. And I just for some context, the reason why I was so nervous approaching you about this, Jacob, and I don't know if I ever told you this, and I only figured this out looking back in hindsight. This was in like late 2024 when I approached you, and I had just finished coming out of a really bad business relationship with a company that treated me horribly. And when I pitched them on, hey, how about we do a fun crossover thing? They hated it and they made it a whole thing. And they even brought up me just suggesting us doing a crossover as a reason why they broke contract with me. You know who
Mhm.
I'm talking about.
I do indeed. I'll say it's funny when you have one of these breakthrough ideas, though. Sometimes you don't realize how breakthrough it is for a while. It
Hmm.
was several weeks after that that we were working on the host characters for the game,
God,
uh, and we were working with the idea still of using original characters. And then I was able to add on to our crossover idea because I literally just had a dong light bulb moment. I'm like, why aren't we using Bolt and Volt?
hmm And part of the
Volt
reason,
wasn't really a thing yet, though, right?
He was
right?
brand new.
He was brand new. That's the cool part, right? And this is part of the reason why it was such a light bulb moment. And I love Volt so much. Don't tell Bolt, but Volt is my favorite son because he was such a group effort out of everybody at Speedrobo Games. And I can't thank everybody enough and all of our fans enough. Essentially a fan creation. So AC Faust, one of our developers, shout out to her. She is one of the most wonderful people I've ever had the chance to work with. She is currently working on a game called Worship Me. And this game is a little more adult. It is a monster girl waifu collectible product, right? And these uh, attractive monster girl women are not always the most well dressed, if you catch my drift. So our Speed Robo Games brand tends to lean more family friendly. So I wanted to create like a new like sub label, new sub brand, like Disney had for a while, like a special movies studio that was just for their like live action, more adult focused movies because Disney's, kids brand. Want to do something similar.
Black Label.
Yeah, exactly. The black label. And that's what we decided to go with. So I created this like mock-up of a pink silhouette of our logo, and our logo has Bolt on it, our mascot. And so that came up. And it was my mom that first started this, and she was like, okay, new character just dropped. What are we going to name him? And I was just like, wait, what? And everybody, all of our fans in the Discord server started pitching names. I just rolled with it because that wasn't even my intention to make a new character, but I just rolled with it. And by the end, we settled on Volt being the name. And immediately once we do that, Caleb Nelson of Necromancer's fame, an absolute real one, huge shout out. Go check out Void Bandit on his socials. He immediately jumps in and doodles new character sketches for Bolt and Volt and draws up whole personalities for them. And it was off of that sketch.
I was very inspired by that drawing, and like getting to make the character sheets for Junk World to make Bolt and Volt. I I just took everything from those character sketches because those inspired me so much, and the expressions I made on Volt's character sheet, I just got to play so much with it, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to bring up. And the final piece of the puzzle was you, Saga, taking those sketches, those concept sketches, and turning them into full blown character sheets. And those character sheets, I'm telling you flat out, we are going to use for the next 50 years.
The same day that I said, "Let's use Bolt and Volt," was the same day that I was like, "Okay, we need an art director. You know a
Mhm.
lot more artists than I do. Who do you have in mind?"
I didn't even flinch. I didn't even blink. I said, "We're getting Saga as the art director, or we're not doing this game."
And you were brought on, and the big, like, test thing here, the thing I needed to
Mhm.
know to make sure you were the right person was, do you get the vibe, right? And you immediately, frame 1, were like, "Oh, yeah, I'm all about this. I get that it's funny and humorous, and we've got thick lines everywhere, and the bright colors, and these mascot characters are cute."
You pitched it to me as like Danny Phantom meets like Cartoon Network, like early years,
Mhm.
and that's my whole jam.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then I slingshotted that with the first character, the
Which
tube.
was the tube.
The tube was the image that I said, "Oh, yeah, right on, you were right, this is the guy."
Yeah,
The tube was
100%.
the first character design for this game, and I actually wanna take a moment to talk about him because the tube became our pseudo mascot for this game despite us already having literal mascots in the game. And is one of our most popular original characters in Junk World.
Mhm.
And what's so funny about it is I've been asked, like, what's the origins of the tube, right? And as the person who created him, the answer is, I don't know, I just thought it was funny.
Right?
I remember I was literally staring at a Excel spreadsheet where I had to come up with, like, the first 20 cards for a skeleton test, and I was just, like, pulling up, like, stock Google photos to use as images for playtest cards. Guys, when you're playtesting, do the simplest playtesting possible. Please,
Mhm.
playtest with bare minimum cards before you do anything else, it'll change your life. And I just pulled up a wacky, wavy, inflatable, flailing arm tube man, and I was like, "Yep, this is our guy."
Yeah. Dude,
It's our
and
boy.
I love the tube so much, and as this is something that I talk about all the time, but the one sin that I really indulge in as the rights holder to a bunch of different games is I like taking my action figures and just smashing them together. And I absolutely love the Summer Slam artwork that Lex did for us last year. Um, that featured the tube, and it was one of the I don't remember who said it. It was one of you 2 that said, "You really don't understand just how big this guy is until he's next to everybody else." And it's like, yeah,
He's
he's
a tall
massive.
guy.
He's massive because
He's got
he's
to
the
reach
full
over
size
buildings.
tube man. He's so cool. I love him so much.
So what was so cool working on the base set of Junk World, we're not gonna spend too much time on this because we got so much other cool stuff to talk about, is working with Saga on art direction was so interesting because I'm not, let's say, the most detail orientated person when it comes to art prompts, right?
Mhm.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, I completely agree, and I'm the same
In the
way.
in the beginning, uh there was there was actually nothing. um I had he's a tube man,
Yeah.
go wild. And I'm just like, okay, he's a wacky waving arm inflatable tube man who flails his arms around. You know who else flails their arms around? Boxers.
Mhm.
And what's so funny about that is it took you a little while to get that that's how our working relationship would go. Other artists would see that as a downside, right? No, this was a huge upside, and this is one of the best things about working together is I don't care if you've got a fun idea or something you wanna do or take it in a direction I didn't think of. I'm just like, "Yeah, do it."
Yeah, I don't care. I'm the same way, I don't care. Do
That
whatever.
can be difficult though, because
Yeah,
sometimes I really
absolutely.
need direction.
We have had time periods where you've been stuck on a particular piece. The one that comes to mind is the fusion engine card. You
Mhm.
really struggle with that, and we really had to work as a team to actually give you some details to work with.
Yeah.
But so many of the cards, particularly the mod cards, I think are where a lot of your personality comes through. Because so many of them, I'm just like, here's an event that's happening, and that's all the detail you were given, and you're just like, okay, so I'm gonna throw Bolt and Volt in there and make them do something silly.
I think
Like
my
bankruptcy.
bankruptcy is great. My favorite is physical challenge because you pulled out a deep cut reference to Hole in the Wall, which is an obscure game show, and it's like it's perfect. I love that shit.
I really enjoy that, and like you have that same passion we do of like exploring further and adding small details to the cards and the card designs that most people won't even care about. Like, there have actually been points where I've had to tell you, "No, we can't do another Speedrobo Games Easter egg."
Yeah, there
And to
have
that
been
I say, I'm adding Bolt and Volt anyway.
it's been multiple times where it's just like we can't just make it normal, man.
You know,
It's
this is
so
something
good.
so special to us because we want this to be like a lived-in world. We're not writing novels about our deep lore. We just want to make our game feel like our games matter,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And we love these games. We love our catalog of games. We want to show them love. I mean, every single weapon card in the game has in its background a copy of Crash Cribbage.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. There it's so it like the entire background and Saga nailed this, but the entire weapon background, every single object in there is a deep cut reference to one of our games. Every object. I want people to like go through and try and like pick out where each one's from because I promise you they are all from something we've done. And it's extremely cool. And that's another reason why I really wanted to work with Saga on this because the second we knew that this was going to be as I originally described it, and this is really interesting because I want to talk about this later. I want to talk about the mental shift that I had when it came to Junk World later. But originally, I wanted Junk World to be like the King of Fighters of Speedrobo games, not the Smash Brothers of the tabletop industry, right? And so the second we decided, okay, we're going to include some Easter eggs with Junk World. That's another reason why I knew that I wanted to work with Saga because Saga's been with us for so long. He knows the company and the history and our franchises really, really well. So I knew he was the guy for the job. But even back when I'm taking the mic, this is mine now. I'm going on a whole run. But back when I pitched the idea to you, Jacob, of hey, what if we included some Speed Robo Games characters and references? It was much more of I wanted it to be more subtle originally, and this is why you see so many original characters in the base set of Junk World, as opposed to it just being Speed Robo Games crossover stuff 24/7. And I want it to be much more like King of Fighters, where King of Fighters has original characters, but they do have characters from the other SNK fighting games. But 90% of the people that play King of Fighters have absolutely no idea that Athena Asamiya is from Psycho Soldier. They don't know. They don't know. They don't know what the fuck a Psycho Soldier is, right? They just know that she's from King of Fighters. They don't even know Mai Shiranui, one of the most popular characters, is from Fatal Fury. They just think she's from King of Fighters, right? And I wanted much more of that energy in Junk World originally until we were at Origins Game Fair. And we were at Origins Game Fair and we were demoing the game and we had Junk World there in a demo capacity, showing it off because our Kickstarter was running. And one of our longtime booth neighbors and buddies in the biz, Alpha Clash, they were right next to us. Whenever I go to Origins, I always try to get a booth near Alpha Clash because they're really fucking cool dudes. Love those guys. Um, and we were playing the game with them. And one of the guys at Alpha Clash, as he was playing the game and demoing it, he was like, "Oh, wait, this is a bunch of crossover characters from your other games. Yo, can we get in on this?" And that was the moment when it all clicked. And I was just like, wait a minute, why don't I ask my friends? Let's go. And I remember we just looked at each other, and Jacob and I, we just looked at each other and we were like, yeah, fuck it. Let's ball. And then immediately at that convention afterwards, when the next time we met up with Bill from Nimue Studios, we immediately asked him, we were like, hey, do you want to be in Junk World too? And it was awesome.
Yeah, so that really does put things into perspective because that day, Origins was when we officially started working on a crossover specific set.
Mhm.
And that shows one big thing to me because at the time we're recording this, it's January, right?
Yep.
This is by far the longest set development we've I think ever had for maybe any game, but particularly abnormally long time for a Junk World set. Junk World sets are generally pretty easy to make.
Yeah. We've
This
had this
set
one in the
was
pipe for a
not.
long time. No, we've had
The
and
first
and part
one
of the
was
reason why it
6
wasn't easy
months?
is because we really wanted to make sure that all of our friends were getting what they wanted and were happy with the end result.
Uh, as a game designer, this set was a particularly interesting challenge because we were working with a lot of outside people, and it was a lot of balancing of timelines because every single card was on its own schedule.
Yeah, God, yeah.
Every single card, we were either waiting 3 weeks because someone wasn't responding to us about a question we had, or waiting for approval for something, or we needed, new references for an art piece, right?
Mhm.
Uh, every single card. We had cards that were finished 4 months ago, done, finished, and others that were only finished yesterday, right?
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
As someone who is a game designer, but also, has a lot of experience in the managing role for a project, That was so hard.
Yeah, I don't know if we wanna do this specific kind of thing again, but I'm so glad we did. I'm so glad we did.
So, I wanna, in brief, ask Saga, you did so much work with the base set, and for other sets like our upcoming, Wacky Racers set. You've done a lot of really cool artwork and character design and how was it working on outside characters, doing illustrations for characters from other creators who might be a little picky about their characters and how they're demonstrated?
Yeah, so I would say, like, some of the most fun I had was definitely with, like, the cat and the Super Battlemon, collabs. Those ones were really fun to do and get to, kind of deviate from the typical Junk World style, but also find a way to because a lot of times I would be getting pushback being like, "You don't need to include Bolt and Volt in every art piece because we don't wanna just have their character, but also be like, yeah, but here's our character too." I wanted it to be this is a collab set. These worlds are colliding, and we gotta show that. So, like with Super Battlemon, uh, bolts in a teacup. Uh,
That art's so good.
That art's really good.
I'm sure I will be putting up each of the cards as we talk about them as we now go through each crossover
Mhm.
individually. Guys, you're going to get so sick of us shouting out people, but
That's what this episode is.
we truly have nothing but love for every company we work with. We wouldn't have asked them to join us if we didn't. These are all of our friends, all of our colleagues. We want to talk about them and boost them. And because our industry is such a special thing, we want to build the entire thing up.
Mhm.
So you are going to hear us talk about other people's games for the next whoever knows how long and shout them out. And I encourage you to check all of them out. They're all amazing. We also will have a link in the description that goes over our entire character files for Junk World. Uh, so if you want a overall view of the entire Junk World roster, that's where you'll go. We talked about
Absolutely.
Super Battlemon already. You want to just start with that one?
Yeah, so we actually brought up 2 already from Saga that I'd love to hit up. So, Super Battlemon is, created by a gentleman who goes by the handle of Q online. I actually met him in person for the first time at, uh Gen Con 2025. Amazing guy, super cool dude. I played a bunch of his games that he had at the Strange Machine Games booth. I played Iconoclash, which is actually another crossover style board game that plays like a turn-based platform fighter. I immediately bought it the second I saw that they had Millennium Blades as one of their like crossover add-ins. I was like, oh, I gotta get that set. Um, so Q's fantastic, and Super Battlemon has actually become a best-selling product at my game store, Spaceboat Games, and has become a massive hit with my entire family. We all love Super Battlemon. It is a fantastic game. And the other person that got mentioned was the cat. So the cat, his name is Cody, and he is a character from Neo Cadix. Neo Cadix is a very small indie card game that's created by a gentleman called Mike. He's a good friend of mine, and he actually works with our company for manufacturing services as well. And he has a convention coming up in Florida called GemCon. So definitely give that a peep.
He is also one of the volunteer moderators for Tabletop Aces.
Woo! Round of applause for that. Yeah, Mike's a stand-up guy. He does a lot for people around the indie tabletop industry. Very helpful guy. Definitely worth talking to. Yeah, no, just great dude. Go check him out. Actually, you can order Neocadix from speedrobogames.com. So use promo code Donfather 2025 for $5 off your Neocadix order.
That's awesome.
Another one I wanna shout out real quick while we're still on the topic, the goose. Uh,
Yeah.
I loved making that one so much. Putting Bolt and Volt in little duck out or, like, little goose outfits was so fun, and it saddens me that, like, most of it's covered up by the effect box, but that full art I'm sure Jacob will put it up on screen, is awesome.
The
I
full
love
art
it
is on
so much.
the full art's on the story page for Junk World.
There we go.
Yeah, it is they're adorable looking, and I love the terror in their eyes.
So good. And we mentioned Bill from Nimue Studios. That's from his games Sudoku. He's the one with the goose.
Yeah,
That was all him.
shout out Bill, shout out Nimue
Dude,
Studios.
I mean,
Sudoku's really cool.
Sudoku is such a fun game, and I mean, if we're talking about tabletop aces contributors, oh, Bill, right up there. He's one of the homies. I'll dap him up anytime I see him. We love Bill. Absolute, absolute legend.
It's also like bringing other styles into this game is really funny. Like you get like really serious styles like with the bunny, and then translating that into the more simple junk world style is it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. So the bunny is Bryn the Destroyer from Echoes of Astra. And like you're saying, Echoes of Astra is like a very serious game, and big thank you to the Echoes team for working with us not only on Junk World but bringing us in as a support and consultancy team on their own card game, Echoes of Astra, and their Kickstarter and all that. And they were just so chill about being like, yeah, no, turn Bryn into a funny little cartoon. Yeah, go for it. It's just they're great. I love working with them every
I
time.
have nothing but positives to say about Echoes of Astra and the team behind it. Rydon and I have both worked with them very closely, and they're some of my favorite people in this industry. They
Mhm.
just radiate positivity and competence. And
Absolutely.
not to say anything, but I can't wait to work with them further in the future.
Same. I completely agree. Can't go into details, but I am so excited for the future of Echoes of Astra and the future of Perhelion Studio as a whole. They are going places.
My turn to bring up a game, and this is one of those games that we did not do original artwork for. There are some games in our lineup here who they provided artwork, and it was already perfectly fitting for Junk World, so we used their original art, including one of the at this point elder statesmen of the indie card game sphere, Gem Blenders.
Bro, I just bro, dude, I'm gonna fucking spurg out here, okay? Because the second you told me you had an in with Gem Blenders, I was like, you're fucking kidding me. You're telling me there's a chance we could get Gem Blenders in Junk World? Because dude, Gem Blenders is perfect. And they've been around for half a decade, kicking ass, taking names, doing their own shit. Gem Blenders is so freaking cool. There's no other game like it. And I mean, you can, like, personally, I'm not a crazy fan of their art style, but goddamn, do I respect it. There's no other game that looks like Gem Blenders.
It is iconic, and it is like you said, it's long running, it's iconic. It is one of those games that I was so happy to have because they weren't necessarily in our tight knit circle. They were someone outside our circle would go, "Oh yeah, I know them. They're cool." Right? And
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited to have them on, especially for me, because of the fact that I actually covered Gem Blenders back when it was first coming out on this channel so long ago. It
Yeah,
was
I was
like
like,
2019,
yeah, yeah, you were like the first major news outlet to like talk about Gem Blenders at all.
and it just felt like a truly cool, like full circle moment for me that I got to go back to this guy and say, "Hey, you like probably don't remember me. I was in Gem Blender's Discord server this entire time, just hanging out in the background, right?" And I reached out back out to him and I was just like, "Hey, you probably don't remember me, but here's the work I've done with you before way back when," right?
Mm-hmm.
And then presenting Junk World to him and be like, "This is a really important thing for us and we want to represent our entire industry and the people who make it awesome. And I think you're one of them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got for me? If you want to join, how do you feel?" And he's like, "Cow, look at the Milk
Yes,
Herald."
dude, the fact that we got Milk Herald is so awesome, bro. Like the second you're just like, we got Milk Herald. I'm like, Milk Herald, and you show me Milk Herald, and I'm like, that is the most gem blender shit I've seen in my fucking life,
I
bro.
love it.
He's beautiful.
I really like it too.
He's
He
so
he
good.
feels like he's always belonged in Junk World, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And Gem Blenders, if I can talk design for a moment, he was actually one of the harder cards to translate
Mhm.
into Junk World because Gem Blenders has such a unique board. It has a rotation system where you have a essentially a diamond of characters. You can think of it kind of like having an active Pokemon or a benched Pokemon, except they're all active and they move around. And it's a really unique, interesting system that doesn't translate the best into Junk World. So I focus more on his effect, which is he's like a toolbox for your resources, your mana. So I focused on that for the card design.
So I want to now talk about a game that is similar to Gem Blenders in some ways, but is kind of like the exact opposite of it. This is a game that instead of you covering on your channel, I covered on my channel. And instead of it being positive coverage, it was negative coverage. And instead of the artwork provided being like already like a Junk World cartoony thing, this is an artwork that we got that's provided that's outside of Junk World style to help make it stand out in the set. And this is a card that instead of focusing on her core mechanic on her card for her contestant card, we entirely focused on what makes this card game this card game. And that is Primal, baby! Woo! Freaking love Primal. Claudio is my boy. And how Claudio and I met is so freaking funny. And I tell people this all the time. We became friends after I cyberbullied him. My pinned video on my Dr. Speedrobo YouTube channel is my video ripping Primal a new asshole because I use it as the example of you can make an amazing game with incredible artwork, and it doesn't matter if you bungle the execution of the product, right? And so I made that video. And immediately after I make that video, Claudio, the creator of the game himself, reaches out to me and is like, "Hey man, I saw your video. You're 100% correct. I am going to fix every single thing you said." And then he goes out and he just fixes it. And it's done and it's good now. And Primal's incredible and it's doing great. And they're distributed by Quartermaster Direct. And I have them in my game store, and my customers love collecting their cards, and their cards are beautiful. And did you know that all of their foils are textured now? That's right, jackass. Every single foil is textured. You can't beat that. Primal is incredible, and I'm so excited that they are in this game and they're represented. And the character that we got is the pirate. She's the pirate queen from the first starter deck, and her effect is that every round that goes on, your cards get cheaper, which is representative of Primal's core cost system, which is exactly like Bandai Naruto's turn counter. And I wanted to represent it, and we did. I'm so fucking hyped! Yeah!
Man, I think one of the most fun parts of this game, this crossover set, was translating card effects from completely different systems into Junk World. It's the type of thing that all of us have loved to do for years, right? Like,
Mhm.
hey, what if we took these card fight Vanguard characters and put them into Yu-Gi-Oh? How would
It's
that
fun.
work, right?
Yeah.
Uh, that type of thing's so much fun, and we got to do it professionally. And one of the most interesting examples, I think, of that for us, is actually not with a game, but with a content creator from our space,
Oh, yeah.
and how fun it was to translate him into the card game. We are talking about Escape Alien.
Dude, huge shout outs to Escaped Alien. I mean, if we're talking about people that support and lift up and boost everybody in the indie tabletop space, it's Escaped Alien, man. He's just the absolute goat.
And we made him an alien that escapes.
That's what he does. That's
Yeah,
exactly what he does. If you don't pin him down with enough damage during your turn, he's gonna boogie on out of there.
You know what? I'll cut you off. Escaped Alien is the coolest card in this game.
I wanted to talk about his artwork specifically,
Hell yeah.
Ever played
because
Mega Man?
yeah, it's just Mega Man, dude. It's bad box art Mega Man. It's so cool.
I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of ugly Mega Man.
Saga, wasn't that a piece that you got to work on together with Lex, right?
Yeah, yeah. Some pieces I got to work on with Lex due to issues in like time management. They turned out really well.
Yeah.
Lex is way better at me at coloring, and that is shown off here best with Escaped Aliens artwork.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
Escaped Alien was you working with Lex, and then you worked with Emil L, creator of Destiny Decide, for the Menace,
The
the
cat
goose.
and the menace. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
I learned a lot, and I got to apply that to the sloth, who has incredible coloring. If I pat my own self on the
Do you
back,
mean the Sloth from Predator or Prey? Is straight up the
true.
best board game I played in 2025.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Predator or Prey,
Yes.
if it was actually released in 2025, would have won my game of the year without a doubt. It's the best thing I played all year.
Predator or Prey is an amazing game. Not quite out yet, but you bet I will be in line first person to buy it when its Kickstarter does release.
Mhm.
It is made by a couple of really cool people. The one we are very close friends with and who has appeared on this channel over and over and over again is Mr. Two Lanes of the card game Crypt. This was a game that he and friends designed during a game jam and then just said, wait, we're going to make this an actual thing. And he would say himself that it is essentially what if Monster Hunter but board game.
Yeah, and it's incredible. It's incredible. I don't want to talk any more about it other than you need to go into their Discord server right now. They play every Thursday night. If you aren't in there playing Predator or Prey, you are missing out. Full stop.
What I want to say is this might be one of my favorite card designs because it is as perfectly translated from or Prey as a card could be. And it is our first ever card specifically designed for multiplayer play in Junk World. So hype, dude. So hype.
Dude, it's great. Bust out the sloth and have all three of your friends like dogpile you and see if they can take you down.
Why stop at 3? You can have a 1 versus 500
You
game.
could. You could. You could have one
Why
versus
not
five.
just everyone be the sloth?
Oh no, that
Dude,
sounds terrifying.
Actually,
but
that sounds
awesome.
that sounds hilarious. Dude, what if everybody's the sloth? See, this is why we only give you one copy of each contestant because you aren't designed to play the same contestant against each other. Don't do
But
that.
you know,
Buy
it's a world
multiple.
of
Make the
freedom.
game.
You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want. I want to give a couple quick shout outs to, because we've been talking about people that are more outside of our circle. I want to give a quick shout outs to a couple people that are very inside the circle. And that is, Splatterkins from AC Faust. She was on board immediately. We already have 2 Necromancers reps from Caleb Nelson. Warriors of Legend by Fake Name Games. Again, no thought. I asked him and he was just like, yes, immediately. Same with Keith Rice of Legacies Alert. The video game is out. You need to go play it. And my uncle's MMO that's been running for 16 years, Illyriad, immediately joined up. And it's been great to have all these people that we're close with working with. But I want to give a special shout out to one game developer who is very much part of the inner circle, and that is Don of Donfather Games for letting us put the Keen from Siege the Keen in Junk World. And if we're talking about like mechanical translations, dude, I'm so proud of with what I came up with for the Keen. You literally play a hand of Siege the Keen in the middle of your Junk World game to determine if you manage to deal damage to the Keen. It's so freaking cool.
Yeah, and if anyone's wondering, you see that one right there? Yes, that is a One Piece reference.
What? What? Huh?
It'll make sense in editing.
I okay, buddy. Whatever you say.
It's Zoro.
You're just making shit up now.
He uses 3 sword style.
Oh yeah, the Blade Master. The Blade from Legacies of Luria. Yeah, Argog Blade Master.
Yeah, straight up. So that one's you know what, I wasn't gonna call more attention to it, but it's funny because that was actually one of the first card designs I had written out in the very, 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 very skeleton early versions of Junk World is, haha, what if we had Zoro and it was just a guy who could have 3 swords, right?
Yep.
It wasn't even written like card text. That's literally what was written down was, haha, what if we had a guy who was like Zoro and could use 3 swords, right? And then we're working on this, and I'm like, oh my God, we have that.
Right. And it works so well for Argog too, because guess how many equipment slots your hero has in Legacies Alert? Fucking guess.
7?
3! Woo! It was perfect because we got to translate over the 3 equipment slots from Legacies Alert. And it was perfect. It was perfect for Argog. I'm so glad he's here. And part of the reason why I'm glad Argog's here is, funny enough, we did a Legacies Allure crossover with System Gate, a couple of years back. And Argog was one of the characters who didn't make that crossover. So now he gets the love. So all the Argog fans from Legacies Allure, if you missed him in System Gate, now's your chance to pick him up.
Next on our list is actually a really interesting one for us right now, which is a crossover with the legendary game Iconic. Divine, its creator, has appeared on this podcast before to discuss his game. We had a great time talking about old school Yu-Gi-Oh! And game design and translating games into new styles. And he's a really great guy. And we had him on because he was a frequent member of Tabletop Aces, and he was making a really beautiful and interesting game. And then cut to now, and we are actually in direct partnership with him on his game.
Yeah. So his Kickstarter barely didn't make it across the finish line for his funding goal. And let's put it this way. I'm no stranger to picking up failed Kickstarters, okay? Necromancers. Failed Kickstarter, picked it up. Now it's a huge success. This is basically my company's wheelhouse. We scoop up failed Kickstarter projects and turn them into winners. And so, we talked to him afterwards, and we're just like, well, let's see what we can do to help. And we wound up being able to help him out. So we'll have more information on Iconic and what we're doing together coming very soon. So stay tuned for that. And it's been great to be able to work with Divine.
It's an absolutely incredible game with a gorgeous, gorgeous art style and one of the most unique systems I've ever seen in a game. And I look forward to getting to work with him further. He's got incredible stuff going on, and I really, really am excited to have one of his characters in Junk World.
I couldn't agree more. Iconic is on the right track. He just needed a little bit of a helping hand, and we ended up being that helping hand, and I'm glad we could be that for him. So, talking about some other people whose games aren't out yet. I got to give a huge shout out to my homie Cardboard. Okay, so Cardboard, another Tabletop Aces legend, frequent contributor, absolute homie. He's working on a digital card game right now called Kyokai. You can go download the demo, play it. You should. It is freaking fun, even in its unfinished state. And I was talking to him. And he's also the developer of the React board game from Brother Main, by the way. So
what a cool game.
It was a great game.
What a cool game.
Cardboard's been around in this biz almost as long as I have, doing different games for different people. The dude knows what he's doing. And I was talking to him, and I was just like, yeah, I mean, if you got anybody we could borrow for Junk World. And he's like, oh, I got just the guy. Check this out. So it's his tutorial character from Kyokai called the Participant. And his backstory is that the Participant got unceremoniously suckered into being part of this cosmic, battle to determine the fate of the universe. And I'm like, oh, so this guy's just really unlucky. He gets abducted for wacky game show shit all the time. Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah, he's in. No notes. Whoop! Get in the game. And so we got him in the game, and he's heckin' fun. And I love the participant. I love Cardboard, and Cardboard's another guy that we talk to all the time. He's really really stand up dude.
The next one is a crossover with the game Genesis Battle of Champions. Shout out to Jason, the owner of this game. He is a guy that you and I have talked to a bunch because he shares so many of our same views on
Hmm.
supporting the industry and supporting local game stores. And, you know, as he's a former local game store owner, he's been in the trenches and you can tell, right?
God, yeah.
You know, and just having a really cool game that is pro player, you know,
And
in
what's I'm gonna cut you off because I have to spurg out about this. Again, this is the Ride on Loses Mind episode, okay? Because what's some of the things that's so cool about Genesis Battle of Champions, I mean, it is a it is a foreign game. It's a game from outside the US. Genesis is like the homegrown Canadian TCG success story. And if we're talking elder statesmen of the indie TCG space, it doesn't get much more elder or statesman than Genesis Battle of Champions, okay? They've been around and forever. They've been kicking so much butt. They're in distributors all around the globe, and they are like 100% born in, printed in, manufactured in Canada. And I also know their graphic designer. Their graphic designer for Genesis Battle of Champions is one of the folks that runs the Imperial Pulls indie TCG live stream show, which is a laugh a minute riot. It's my mom's favorite YouTube channel. So shout out to them as well. But they work because they're also Canadian. So that's something that's really cool about Genesis Battle of Champions.
their representative in the game, the librarian, is depending on how you count, either the first or second flip card introduced into the game. That's a little screwy because we released some cards early
Hmm.
as special teasers, but this is the first one officially released. That is a card that starts on one side and flips to another and is really, really cool.
And part of the reason why it was so fun to bring in Caleb the librarian is I remember this. You asked um you asked Genesis Battle of Champions, hey, do you want to be in the game? Do you have a character for this? And Jason was immediately like, "Oh yeah, I got just the guy. Here's my wacky zany librarian character who breaks the fourth wall constantly. Here's the like fully produced animated intro video I made for him, which is a great video." And he's just like making Marvel Comics references the whole time. And so I'm the guy who gets to write the like story text for every character. And that was my favorite one to write because I got to write it entirely within first person. So if you go and you read the story webpage and you read Caleb the librarian's entry, it's him talking to you in first person. It's literally the actual character talking to you when you read that entry, like canonically. That's him talking to you. And I was like, "Oh, I love doing stuff like that, man. It's fun." So, speaking of cool companies that we've had a chance to work with, I want to give a shout out to two final board game and card game creators here. First one is Studio Spicy. I actually met these guys at BGG Con, and immediately we hit it off. I looked at him, he looked at me, and it was one of those things where we were just like, "Oh my gosh, we're like kindred spirits. We're like separated twins." Just on different sides of the country because our like signature packaging at Speedrobo Games is clear plastic reusable tuck box with a paper sleeve wrapped around it. Guess what Studio Spicy does for all their games? Take a shot in the dark, okay? It's exactly the same. And they print all of their cards in house just like we do. It's so freaking cool to see somebody else out there doing exactly the same thing as us. And I was immediately like, bro, we gotta start doing stuff together. We gotta start working together. First thing I want to do, let's get you in Junk World. And he was like, yeah, which of my games do you want in Junk World? And I'm like, both? Let's do both. So there's a Myth Mash and a Cat Party rep in here. And I'm a huge fan of both of those games. Recently, I was hanging out at my game store and I took a picture of me playing Cat Party while wearing my Myth Mash shirt. We love Studio Spicy. And the final like tabletop games creator that we're going to give a shout out to here is Victor Larson, former art director of MetaZoo, made Nom Nom, legendary artist out in the indie TCG space. And he and I actually hit it off through Escaped Alien. That was like the mutual friend that we met through. And I started talking to Vic, and I was just like, "Oh, bro, you're chill as hell. Let's hang out." He was like, "You're chill as hell. Let's hang out." Um, and so now we just like are mutuals that call each other on the regular and talk about card games.
I want to talk about the art for this crossover because, like, we knew we wanted to do something with Vic, but we had no idea what we wanted to do. And this was going to be an original character design. That's what we decided. And I didn't have any ideas, and he didn't really have any ideas. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit here with my notepad open, and I'm going to have a timer for 5 minutes, and I'm going to write down every idea that I can. I will come up with as many stupid ideas as I can in 5 minutes, and you just pick one from the list. And come to find out, he didn't choose one from the list. He chose two of them from the list and merged them together. He chose both the Hydra from my list, and also I had put on the list Super Toilet, which was a reference to the Fairly Odd Parents.
Can't stop flushing.
We love references here. So we put those together, and he made a Hydra that is also a toilet. And as I will say, one of the great debates over this card, one of the things that actually the biggest point of discussion on this card was what color should the Hydra parts be. This took
Yes.
a while to decide
I
for
I was
obvious
very
reasons.
adamant.
Yeah.
I was very adamant from the beginning. It cannot be brown. It has to be pink.
Mm-hmm.
You
Pink
cannot make
was
it brown.
pink was absolutely the right call. Uh,
The other one was puke green, which looked not much better.
It was not much better than the brown, but what I liked so much about the end result of the pink is that it gave the card like a very Digimon flair to it. Like originally when we were talking with Vic, we were thinking about doing like a Nom Nom rep, but then he was just like, I want to draw something fresh for you guys. He was like, I don't want to just do one of my old guys because Vic's a creator, man. He never sits still. He's always making something new, and he wanted to make something new. And the, like, end result is what feels like, a fusion between, like, a Digimon and a Nom Nom character, and I could not be happier with it. But speaking of artists that we have worked with in the past and that we love, the last one I'm gonna talk about before I just shut up forever and hand the mic back to Jacob is we got DJ Duck from the IE Geyer webcomics,
Woo!
and longtime Speedrobo fans are going to know that name, and they are going to be freaking pumped because IE Geyer is the man that made System Gate possible, and by extension, IE Geyer's the man that saved this company. Junk World wouldn't be happening without IE Geyer. Claim, Splatterkins, Necromancers, Mafia Works, Caster Chronicles, none of it would be possible if IE Geyer didn't step up to the plate and get that art for System Gate done. And for that, we will be forever grateful. And I am thrilled to be able to immortalize him and his comics and his artwork and his effort in the form of DJ Duck joining us in Junk World.
I look up a lot to IE Geyer whenever I work for Speed Robo games because uh, before IE Geyer worked on System Gate, initially I was going to be the lead artist for System Gate, and it was too daunting of a task for me at that point in my career. And him stepping up and being able to adapt and put forward all of this artwork on the daily. Like,
Mhm.
I was seeing artwork for this every single day, and I was just like, yeah, this is something I could not do. Only IE Geyer was the man for this job, and he did one hell of a job.
He knocked it out of the park. And, IE Geyer is such an inspiration for me when giving art direction to other artists as well, because I've yet to encounter another artist that's got his capability to tell a whole story in a single piece of artwork. Like Saga, you're close, but I
I
Geyer's a freaking
I'm
storyteller,
trying.
dude. Like you,
I'll
you'll
get there.
get there. You'll get there eventually, but like, because I Geyer's got, you know, a decade plus of extra work experience
Y
on you. He's
of
been out here
life on
making,
me.
yeah, dude. He's a legend, and uh, it means a lot to me personally that because he's retired now, essentially. And it means a lot to me personally that when I called him and I said, it would mean the world if
Speedrobo
you joined me.
Illumini.
Yeah. Yeah. Something like that.
Graduated from Speedrobo Games University.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And so that this one means a lot to me personally. Is gonna mean a lot to the OG fans.
And this card, talking about the card effect, on a meta textual level is really, really funny because it is literally, "Hi, I have a talk show, and now I'm gonna let my guests talk," and we represent that using a mechanic that is new in the set that allows you to switch your contestant for a different one in the middle of the game,
Mhm.
and that uses a card we'll talk about in just a second, and he gets to interact with that mechanic, and that's really cool. It's like in a lot of, like, tag team fighting games where you can swap your fighter
Yeah,
out in the middle.
exactly. Exactly, and, that card's called Character Select, and that was artwork done entirely by Saga. I don't even remember Saga, how did we pick the characters that were gonna go into that one?
Um, I think Jacob picked a lot of them, and then I misinterpreted one of them and drew the wrong character.
Eh
The rebel was supposed to be there, and I drew a
You
a System Gate original.
yeah, you drew the agent, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really, love the way this card turned out because it was one of those I had a pie in the sky idea for what I was looking for, and I said, "Hey, can you actually do this?" And you're like, "Psh, yeah."
Initially, I wanted it to be a Smash Brothers and Melee, character select with, like, different panels representing, like, player 1, 2, 3, and 4.
It's funny because I came from it, like, I wanted Street Fighter 2,
Mhm.
right? And then we were just talking about it, and we're like, "Actually,
Mega
Mega
Man.
Man."
Yep.
Yep. Mega so there's
We've
2
got
Mega
2
Man
Mega Man
references.
references, yeah.
Exactly, there's 2 Mega Man references. And Jacob, what is the final card? What's the final wacky card in this crossover? That's all you. I wanna hear about it from you.
The final card?
Final wacky card?
There are no other cards.
Yes, there is. There's the creator.
There are no other cards. Ooh.